Okay, right. I think we'll make a start. So, absolutely delighted to introduce Sergeant Major McFadden, who is the Garrison Sergeant Major at Edinburgh Castle, and he's going to tell us a lot about what that role is. Very prestigious role, extremely prestigious role, and extremely senior. When I approached Mr. McFadden, he immediately said that he'd be more than happy to join us, and indeed, some of you may recognise his face from Longmoor, I believe, when he came down with a colleague to judge a drill competition a couple of years ago. So some of you will have good memories, and some of you will have even better memories of that particular experience. I know that there's a cadet sergeant in the house here who has a very good memory of that experience, who's my son, who you spoke to on the Troll Square that day. So I'm not going to spend an awful lot of time. I wanted to give as much time as possible over to Mr. McFadden. So, Sergeant Major, over to you to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about your career and the highlights from within that.
So, thank you very much. When I was approached to do this, I'm just switching this. I was more than happy to come and chat. I've heard everybody that I've had that I've come and talked to you, and I hope that I can do it justice. You've had some very prestigious people on for the Army Sergeant Major, Billy Billingham, Phil Campaign, and many, many more in Kirky. So RSM, 1st Battalion Scots Guards, was a very good friend of mine. Me and him we were recruits together. We were crew together 20 odd years ago, so he's a very good friend of mine. And when I heard I was going to be doing this, clearly the first protocol was to RSM, 1st Battalion Scots Guards, for him to give me some hints, tips and advice and how to approach this. So I'll give it my best shot. No, I mean, being a jock, I'm not too bad at talking. I can talk the hind legs up, don't I? But a couple of disclaimers, as you can tell with my voice, I'm a West Coaster. I refer to myself quite a lot, and I don't mean if there's any West Coasters on here. I refer to myself quite a lot as a scumbag for Greenock, because that's what I am, and I'll go on a wee bit more about that later on. But because of the wear on fame, I swear now and again, I will do my utmost not to do it. Even at my time in the academy, I had to make a conscious effort to make sure I thought about what I said it. But if I swear, I mean no offence at all. Try to minimise it, because I know some youngsters online just now. But as introduced, my name's Warrant Officer Class 1, Garrison Sergeant Major, Scotland McFadden. I am based currently in Edinburgh Castle. What is the Garrison Sergeant Major? The Garrison Sergeant Major by post is the senior soldier in Scotland. Usually a post RSM, so I've been RSM before, and now I am the senior warrant officer in Scotland, senior soldier. What does that entail? So I am first and foremost, in my eyes, an advisor to a lot of people, from General Officer Scotland to the General Alistair, to Brigadier Lindsay. I am the gobshite that keeps them online and gives them the truth. That's one of the primary roles of a warrant officer, is to advise the chain of command and make sure they understand. And the role I'm in, I get to advise some very, very senior people, including politicians. I had a good argument with a couple of ministers on Saturday, which was interesting. If you want to know, but I'll tell you later on. They weren't too impressed about getting told the way things need to be. But that's one of the jobs of a warrant officer, is to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. So that's one of my main jobs. Other jobs with the Garrison Sergeant Major is I am responsible for the delivery of all state ceremonial in Scotland. So everything you see on telly, online with guys in kilts, pipe bands, that is me. It's not me solely, clearly, but I'm responsible to make sure it looks all nice and shiny. And if it goes wrong, I am the General's first protocol for them to ask me why it's went wrong. So I take it quite seriously. Other roles at the Garrison Sergeant Major, as a senior soldier, I am an advisor to the RSMs as well. So as you're sure you're aware with the structure of the battalions, that each battalion has got one regimental sergeant major. And because of I've already been an RSM, I go around quite frequently and advise them, guide them, give them a wee bit of my experience to help them crack on and deal with a multitude of different situations, not just ceremonial, lots of different things. But in my career so far, so as I say, I refer to myself as a scumbag because I left school at 15-year-old, and I I told my mother I was leaving school. She says, look, if you're going to leave school, Scott, then you are going to have a job. By the end of the day, I had 2 interviews. By the end of the week, I had 2 job offers. So I'm a wee bit sceptical of kids and people that say that they can't get a job. I've got a 17-year-old daughter, by the way, who I've had this discussion with frequently. So I did that, and then I was the first person in my family to join the army. Back in the day, you would have the recruiters, the soldiers, cut about town, and I filled in a wee card, and the next day, they basically kidnapped me, actually. They came to my door with a car and threw me in the back. They didn't even get a chance to tell my mother or father they were working. And then I took a Redford barracks, and that was me hooked. And I tell a lot of people, especially youngsters, the army pretty much saved my life. I was, let me think about this, I was a nasty wee lad when I was younger, and the army channeled that. Every one of my friends, civvy friends, I don't really have any of them, are either dead or in jail. Just about 100% of them dead or in jail. So the army gave me a focus. It really focused my mind, and I took it like up to water, and it went from there. So I went into training with RSM and Scots Guards, amongst others, and I was a boy soldier at 16, trained for a year, and then went on to the 1st Battalion of Guards in Highland. From there, then I'm not going to bore you with all the details of everything that I've done through my career, because that would be tedious, because that's 20 odd years I've been there. But I've been on operations, every major operational theatre that the British Army's been in. I've done some punchy jobs, which we can talk about to your heart's content. But my main role, I mean, if in an infantry battalion, you were a trade, my trade was recce. I'm a close reconnaissance soldier. That's what I was for about 10 years. And that's where I learned my craft. Mainly in the jungles of Lees. When I was younger, I didn't want to, my early days in the army, my first year in the battalion, I thought, right, how can I have the easiest time here? And then when I went to the jungle, that's where we were getting trained off the SAS lads and stuff like that. And that's when I found my love of the army and my love of being a soldier. And for then, I was moved away from things like models and other things, and I was focused down the route of, you're going to go and live in bushes, carry heavy weights for miles and miles and miles, and you're going to be a close reconnaissance soldier. And that's what I did for a long time. In between my times as a recce soldier, I went to ITC Catterick and I trained. I mean, I'll go through highlights and low points, but the high points for me, some of the biggest high points is training. I love to teach, to train, to guide, to educate younger people. And I think because of my background, as I've just told you there, and the way that I grew up, I like to try and focus youngsters' minds in that and teach them and show them what the army can actually offer and provide. So I enjoyed my time as a young corporal at ITC Catterick, done that for a year. I went back to battalion, and then I went on ops with battalion. I've been on ops in every rank, less colour sergeant and regimental sergeant major. That's only 2 ranks I've not been on ops in. But I've been to ITC Catterick as a corporal platoon sergeant. Absolutely fantastic time, great course, the combat infantry course, and the majority of my training time has been in the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. I've done 3 jobs at Sandhurst. I've been very, very lucky, especially with the way that I talk and the way that I do things. They seem to like it down there. The young officer cadets like it. I'm sure you know about Sandhurst, and if you get any questions about Sandhurst, just let me know. I'll tell you the absolute truth, because that's the only way there. But I was a colour sergeant at Sandhurst, and I had done all the jobs there. I had my own platoon, I had my guys, and I commissioned them all the way. That was a fantastic time. Sandhurst is broken into different parts. So you've got Old College and New College at Sandhurst. So Old College is the historical part. That dates back to 1812. Basically, that goes back to the Duke of Marlborough. He done his estimate on pre-1812. We were, as a British Army, you could basically buy your commission. So if your daddy or your mummy was rich, then you could just buy a commission and you could become an officer in the army. The Duke of Marlborough very quickly realised that, that doesn't make, just because you get money, doesn't mean he would say you're going to be a good soldier, or even worse, a good leader. Quite the opposite sometimes, and a lot of people died because of that kind of ethos. So in 1812, Duke of Marlborough made the decision he's going to establish the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst. He died before he seen it come to fruition, but it was his brainchild. And then it was done from there, and from then on, that is the home of the British Army officer, and it is world renowned. As if you ever get to go and see Sandhurst, go and see it. Just about every major country in the world sends the best and brightest through Sandhurst. There's something like 40 odd heads of state in the world just now be it Prime Ministers, Presidents, Kings, Queens, whatever, that are graduates of the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst. It's a massive deal, especially in the Middle Eastern countries, massive. So they take it quite seriously. So what do we do there? I mean, 44-week course, commission course, the main commission course. You can do shorter ones for reserves and for other bits and pieces, but the main course is 44 weeks long. Is it hard? Yes, it's hard. It's very, very cheeky. It's supposed to be, and it's open to everybody. Again, back in the day, it used to be more solely for graduates. Not the case now. The amount of non-grads, what they're called, so basically guys and girls who have not been to university, they've just done AOSB. That's the Army Officer Selection Board. They've passed that. You can do that from about 15, 16, and they have went on to Sandhurst. I mean, so the point with that is you don't need to have a degree with it. I mean, you're watching in the news these days with the debacle which is happening government level with with grades and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a big advocate that, you might disagree with me massively, but I don't think grades are the be-all and end-all. I think it's the hunger in the individual, the passion in the individual. If you want something, you've got the hunger for it, you can absolutely get it. And I use myself as case in point. I left school with 0 qualifications, and I am up to degree level and a few different things now, because the Army puts you through all that and it pays for it as well. So the offer now is fantastic for that. So I digress. Anybody can go to Sandhurst as long as they've got the right mindset, the right aptitude to do it, and the AOSB can draw that out of you. And if you've not got that, then the Army again will educate you. They'll put you on courses to get you where you need to be, because the non-grad piece is becoming more and more prevalent now. It's becoming more and more. So that's Sandhurst as a colour sergeant. I went back to battalion, company sergeant major on ops, and then back to Sandhurst again as a company sergeant major. Once I finished my role as company sergeant major at Sandhurst is basically company PIC. So they do all the paperwork and they deal with the other bits and pieces, which is an interesting one, including all the discipline, shouting the ball, and being the angry old man. And then from there, I was very lucky enough to be selected to be the first Scots Regimental Sergeant Major of Old College, and that's in 200 years of history. So I was usually it's a guardsman, and I was the first non-guard jock to get the job. So it was a massive deal for me. It was a massive deal for me to get that job, because Old College, it's world renowned. If you Google it and you look at Old College Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, it is world renowned for the things that we do there. And again, if you've got any questions on it, please ask away. And then once I finished my stint there as Regimental Sergeant Major, I came back. I came to Edinburgh, got the job as Garrison Sergeant Major. And that is where I am just now. I'm coming towards, I've got 3 years left in my career, and we'll see what happens in the future. Have we got any questions thus far?
Okay, there are quite a few coming through, but I've got a few. I'm going to take the host prerogative and ask a few of my own before we get into a lot of really good ones, actually, really probing ones. I think you're going to like them, Mr. McFadden. Didn't know you from Greenock. Got a great affinity for Greenock myself. That was where I first went when I qualified, and I worked for the council in Greenock. I did a council house survey in the Strone. That was the big council. Aye, that was an education, I have to say. But wonderful people. I worked all over the UK and all over the world, but I can say you never had as warm a welcome as I did with people in that place, and that was fantastic. You mentioned you were the first in your family to join the army. What, apart from being kidnapped and thrown in the back of a car, what attracted you to the army?
If I'm absolutely honest with you, I never even considered it. The guys, I mean, I know the guy's called Rob Lafferty. He's at the army now. He only very recently left the army. I was kind of walking through the town with my friends, and they were badgering us. They seen us young guys, clearly 15, 16-year-olds, and they were badgering us to fill out the card. And I kind of filled out the card to get rid of him, if I'm absolutely honest. I didn't think it would lead to anything, and here I am today. I mean, I've just finished. I've come back to work. I'm in my house just now, but I've come back to work to Edinburgh Castle today. And then, as I said, if he hadn't come down that next morning at 7 in the morning, he came down on my hand with that car and throw me in the back of it. I could kind of convince me to get in the back of it. I don't know. Yeah, my effective intelligence might not have been that good back then, because but hey, it turned out for the best. But if I'm honest, it was pretty much to get rid of him. I'd never thought about the army before. I was never in cadets. I was in the boys' brigade, actually, for 14 years. But again, with that, I'd never thought about the Navy or nothing. I never thought about the military. Yeah, so that was that.
Right. It's actually quite a common theme through a lot of speakers that it wasn't an immediate career choice. It was something that, you know, it was just serendipity, fate, whatever. It just drew them to it, and it was something that brought the best out of them. And I think you make a really, really important point. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I think qualifications are a great thing, and people should strive for them and work hard at school and do it the best that they possibly can. But leaving school or not achieving in an academic sense is not the end of the world, and it's a really important message that you say there, because sometimes that's just not the environment that brings the best out of people. And here's a classic example in case, folks. Here's a man that's reached one of the highest, most prestigious posts in the army in the UK, let alone Scotland. And he's telling you himself it was because he found something that brought the best out in him, and that was the military. So I think a really important message, and I'm glad you said that. Really glad you said that. Okay, let's go to the chat, because there are loads of questions on there. Here's a really good one. Who sets off the cannons on at the 1 o'clock gun?
Dave the Gun does that. Dave the Gun. So that's the district gunner. He belongs to 105 Regiment Royal Artillery, and he is an ex-squadron sergeant major from the normal artillery battalion, the regular artillery battalions. Finished his time, applied for the job, and he is now the district gunner. He can stay in that job as long as he wishes. But that is his job. He's got his own wee area in the castle, which is called the Gunner's House, where he lives, works, sleeps, operates, drinks hundreds of whiskey, and has generally a good time. But but he is known as Dave the Gun, an absolutely gleaming guy, and he does a fantastic job. There's one or two other ones that do it, so Dave can get some time off. But mainly it's Dave Beveridge, his name is Dave the Gun, and he does a fantastic job. And the tourists particularly have got to love him to pieces. He's a bit of a celebrity among, you know, I mean, his picture must be all over the world, because after there's a 1 o'clock gun every day, there's a massive queue. Even just now with the COVID piece, the castle's open, and he's always got a big queue of people wanting to take pictures with him with the empty shell and gun. So yeah, so Dave the Gun, gleaming guy.
Fantastic. Here's a good one. The Edinburgh Garrison comprises many different corps. How do you manage their function-specific needs? A good question.
It does. There's a multitude of different regular reserve units, all different cat badges, all different corps. I think I manage them because I've been in. I mean, you can see my hair is pretty much white at the sides. I've been in the army. I am considered quite an old guy in the Sergeant's Mess world, and I've gained a lot of experience over the years. And I go in and I talk to people. The same as the way I'm doing now. I'll judge my audience, and then I'll talk to them and guide them accordingly. I mean, everybody does things slightly differently, but I think we've got a lot. We share core values. We share a lot of things, so it's relatively straightforward to adjust what I say, because a lot of the stuff that I say, it's common sense stuff. It's making sure that people are doing the right thing on a hard day. I mean, and they're not taking the easy way out. And then holding them to account. That's one of the main jobs for me as a garrison sergeant major, is holding people account. Some people, sometimes you get units who want to do the easy thing, but not necessarily be the right thing. And then that's when I come in and be the conscience sitting on their shoulder and questioning that. And quite frequently they'll 180. I can give them an aggressive look and some very direct words, and things can go in the right direction. Fantastic. I wish it would work with my kids. It doesn't happen like that with my kids. I've got 3 children. I have got my daughter, 17-year-old daughter. She's a hairdresser in Edinburgh. And I've got 2 sons. My 2 boys are in Queen Victoria School. They're 11 and 13. I've got this grandiose sounding job as a garrison sergeant major. As soon as I walk through the door, the rank leaves, and it's a battle, just like every other parent, to get my sons and my daughter in particular to do anything that I tell them. Same with my wife, actually.
That would, I tell you what, a daughter as a hairdresser, that would come in handy during lockdown, I have to say. I ended up looking like somebody out of the Jackson 5. Here's one from one of our cadets from Larkhall. What I should have said, actually, Mr. McFadden, is that there are cadets from across the battalion on the call tonight, so they're not all lucky enough to be Scots Guards cadets. There are also Royal Regiment Scotland cadets, only jest obviously, cadets from the Royal Signals, Royal Artillery. So there's a full breadth of all the cap badges that are covered in the battalion. No Argylls, unfortunately, although I think that Colour Sergeant McIntyre's on, who you'll know. Yeah, there is another Argyll, at least one other Argyll on the call. Is there something you've always wanted to do in your career that you may do in the future? That's a good one.
It is. It is. Let me think. That's an interesting question. Is there anything that I have not been able to do yet that I will be able to do? I don't think that there is, if I'm honest, because everything I've set out to do that I've done, and I've been lucky enough to achieve it. I've been in a lot of times, it's been blind luck, being in the right place at the right time. The only thing that I never got to do was as a Sergeant Major. I wanted to go to Ballard and do the Royal Guard for Her Majesty, and I never got to do that. I was scheduled to do it, but the task was given to another battalion, because when I was coming to Sergeant Major, it was in the Highlanders, the 4 Scots. We were meant to do that. I was meant to go and do it, but I never had the chance to do it. I've done different things with Her Majesty and the Royal Family, but I never got the chance to do Ballard. That's one of the things that I wish I got to do.
And is there a revisit to Sandhurst potentially in the future for you?
Unfortunately, no. That's a bit of a sore point, actually, because the only other job I could do in the academy would be the Academy Sergeant Major. That's the last one that I could even possibly do. But the Academy Sergeant Major is tied to the Blue Red Blue, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think it should be the best person for the job goes to the board. Whoever gets it, gets it. But at this moment in time, we're a wee bit stuck in the past. So I'm in General Officer Scotland's ear, MS's ear, to try and bring us into the 21st century a wee bit. It won't help me, but hopefully it helps people in the future.
I was thinking more about you perhaps going for a commission.
I am going for commission at the moment. I sat the LE cab a few weeks back, and I need to wait till the end of October now to find out if I am going to. My next job is going to be as a third tour as a W1, or am I going to be a captain? I have no idea, or a command sergeant major. I have no idea. I will wait and see.
Now, you and Mr. Kirkwood on the same course, that would be interesting.
We were on the same course, and we were hounding each other all the way. It's a great laugh.
Good stuff. And here's a question from Cadet McLeod. Now, Cadet McLeod has been on every single one of these events that we've done, and she always asks brilliant questions. So here's another one for you. Have you ever set off the cannon at 1 o'clock?
No, I am not allowed to. Nobody outside the Royal Artillery gunners can do it, because the guns for the Royal Artillery are their colours. So within infantry battalions, you've got your colours. You've got the Queen's colour and you've got the battalion colour. Some battalions have got 3, like the 2 Scots Royal Highland Fusiliers, they've got 3 colours because they've the assay colour as well. But the colours for the Royal Artillery are their 105, so they are the guns. So anybody outside them is not allowed to touch it, because it's hallowed ground. Woe betide you if you even get near that. I'm the Garrison Sergeant Major, and I would never go near that gun. I would never set foot near it. I would never lay a hand on it, because it would be disrespecting their colours, which is a massive deal for us. Quite right too.
Okay, so what's the GSM's role in the military tattoo?
I'm the disciplinarian. I'm the angry man. It's quite an interesting role, because you've got acts from all over the world, not just military. There's very few military acts. It's mainly civilian acts from all over the world. And I am the producer. Brigadier David Alfie, he just moved on. But I was basically his bulldog for the month of August last year. And anything that's going wrong, I go and educate the individuals to the wrongdoing and adjust their behaviour accordingly. That's the nicest way of putting it. A lot of the times it's a wee bit more direct than that.
yeah, I'm going to remember that one. I like that one. That's fantastic. Another one. What would your advice be to any of the cadets in the call who would like to join the army?
Do it. That would be my advice. Go for it. Make sure you read into it, make sure you look at it. As you said, there's all different cap badges and codes online tonight. And that's great to hear. Because one of the things at the academy I was always big on was making sure that the cadets and the young officers had done their reading, done their research, to make sure whatever cap badge or core or arm, whatever it is they're looking at, is right for them, because it needs to fit for them, not what anybody else says. Not what your mum or your dad are in, not what friends or family are telling you should be going for. It needs to fit for you, because if it doesn't, then you won't see it through. And it's been proven time and time again. I've seen it all the time. People getting pressured into joining something that they didn't quite believe in, and then it doesn't work. It never works. So what I would say is make sure that you're going for something that interests you, that you've got a passion and a hunger for, and then go for it. Go all in. Because the things that you can do in the army these days, we're not in the public eye as much, because we're not about Eric and Telek and other bits and pieces going on. There is still, we're still operational on just about every continent of the planet, but nothing as punchy as it used to be. And we can talk about the op stuff. I've got lots of different op stories that we can discuss. But educate yourself and go for it. Really go for it. You can do, as I said, I'm up to degree level and my stuff, and I joined the army with 0 standard grade, 0 qualifications. They get you where you need to be, and you can go all over the world. The army decided when I was a boy, look, McFadden, you're going to learn how to scuba dive. Cool, no dramas, and they sent me to the Caribbean to do it, which wasn't too bad. That kind of stuff happens quite often. With the parachute, and they go to America to learn the parachute. They do all sorts of different bits and pieces all over the world. So there's a lot of opportunities, So I would say, find out what you want to do and then go for it. Absolutely, grit your teeth and get in amongst it.
Yep, absolutely. Great advice. And that goes for any career, isn't it? If you're going to go into it, do 100%.
Absolutely. No, I've got 3 mantras that I live by. I've lived with them since I was a young instructor. 100% in everything that you do. Humility and manners. If you hammer home each of them, 100% in everything you do, it doesn't matter what the task is. It doesn't matter if it's building your shoes, building your boots, or doing a presentation, doing a board, preparing for a lesson, or if you're in the last bound position, just about to close with and kill the Queen's enemy with 300 millimeters of cold or gel steel. It doesn't matter. You give it 100%, because as you move up through the ranks and you become a leader or commander, that's what your troops deserve. And that will be, when you join the army, whatever cap badge, corps, arm, whatever, it gets instilled into you that that's the way that you do it. Humility. I have been in the army a long time, and every day is a school day. The day you stop learning is the day you die. And I don't know everything. And if I need advice, when I was platoon commander, I've done lots of tours. I've done 4 tours of Herrick. And one of the second one was Herrick 8. Herrick 8. And I was platoon commander for the first half of the tour. The young second lieutenant that I had as platoon commander, he didn't quite make the cut on the pre-deployment training, so he was moved on, and I was stepped up as platoon commander. And we were going in and we were doing live high intensity ops. Actual stuff that we learned the brig. And back in the day it was just Northern Ireland. You were never doing the kinetic stuff, but then we were in the back of a Land Rover, in the back of a snatch at 3 a.m, getting company commander's orders to go and do a live advanced contact to close with and kill everybody in a specific area. And when I would go back with the humility piece is asking your young commanders, and asking your people, well, what's your view on this? This is what we've got to do. This is a task. What do you think? Because some of the things that they come out with, some of the things that you will come out with, is unbelievable, because you think about it in a different way than I will, because you've been brought up in a different way, you learn differently. And some of my young lance corporals and private soldiers, with the out-of-the-box thinking that they had, some of it was spectacular. And I took their points on board, but I made sure that they get the credit for it. I made sure that they understood, like Jones got it, that was your idea. We're bringing it on, the rest of the platoon, the company, everybody knew that was Jones's idea, because doing that builds confidence, builds that desire to go further. So that's the humility piece. Not being afraid to know the answer. Just because you're the gaffer doesn't mean to say you're always going to know the answer. And the last one is manners. There's nothing, manners, if you're a polite young guy or girl, don't underestimate how much that will help you. Unfortunately, these days, it's kind of unexpected when you go up to somebody and you say, hello, how are you? And you introduce yourself properly, and then you show an interest in the individual. You talk to them courteously, respectfully. It takes them back. They don't expect manners these days, and it kind of irritates me, saddens me slightly. My mother and father, in Greenock, but I was pretty much raised with my grandfather. He was a shipbuilder. So I've got that kind of old school mentality, and I instill it in my kids as well. I'm not completely successful at the time, but I keep battling at that drum. But manners is a big thing. So yeah, just remember that one.
No, yep. The old adage, doesn't cost anything, but it buys an awful lot. You know, it's yeah, great advice. Okay, another one. Are there many women in your particular part of the armed forces?
The ladies within the army has grown massively. I mean, that's the infantry, all arms, everywhere is open to ladies. And we're starting to get girls through the different training establishments, both as soldiers and as officers. So they are starting to come through, which is great to see. Again, there was a lot of when we done the women in ground close combat piece, there was a lot of scepticism by the dinosaurs, if I'm absolutely honest, who thought that they could never do it. I don't care who it is that's next to me, as long as they are capable of doing the job. I do not care what gender they are, what religion they are, what colour of skin they are, as long as they are good at what they do and they give 100%. Yeah, but it's getting more and more. What we need really is some ladies to come through and absolutely smash it, because success breeds success every time it does, and that's what we need to see. Some good, and we've got some coming through, so hopefully that's going to breed the success, and we're going to get some more young ladies see that, think, yep, she can do that. That's inspired me. We're on. Let's give her a shot. But yeah, we've got some fantastic young ladies coming through. We've got in Royals in Scotland, we've got the first company commander through now. She went out and she's a good lady. She was in, I can't remember the course she was in, but she transferred to the infantry, and she went down and done the platoon commander's battle course at Brecon, because she wanted to have the credibility with all the guys, and she went down and smashed it. So yeah, it's absolutely within everybody's grasp. It goes back to that hunger piece that we're talking about. If you want it, don't let anybody say that you can't. You go for it. You train. You look at it. Get advice. Get guidance. Train, and smash it at the park. Same as we all do. Doesn't matter who you are. I mean, I train. Everybody trains that does every course, but don't let anybody tell you you can't do it. You absolutely can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So important, that belief, isn't it? So important, that belief in yourself, and it's very easy, I think, in some instances, particularly in traditional academic settings, that you can easily rob people of that belief, because perhaps that just isn't for them. And I think, from what you're saying, the army is very, very strong on feeding that belief, no matter what situation that they find yourself in, because that belief then leads to success. So it's yeah.
The army is very good at building confidence. You'll see that the Beat the Belonging campaign and building skills for life. The army is very, very good at it, because it teaches you everything that they never ask you to do something that we've not taught you to do before, and it builds that confidence. We're getting better at the positive reinforcement. It used to be a wee bit more focused on the negative reinforcement, as you'll see from military films and the like. But we're getting better at the positive reinforcement. When somebody does something good, tell them, and then when they do something wrong, you don't just. It's gone to the days where, when I was a boy, if you done something wrong, you might get a bit of a sore face for it. And even when I was a young 16-year-old, I knew that was the wrong way to do things. If you want somebody to learn, then you tell them what they've done wrong, you educate them, and you bring them on, you guide them, you mentor them, you teach them. Some people would say that's a softer way of doing things. I completely disagree. It's an intelligent way of doing things.
Yeah.
Because I have seen so many soldiers leave the army because they never got the correct guidance, training, mentorship, and they could have been fantastic, guys and girls. They could have been fantastic, but they just weren't educated and brought on in the right way. It's not doing things softly; it's doing things with a brain.
Absolutely, intelligence. Yeah, absolutely. Leading on from that a little bit, so a previous speaker, which was RSM Cox, another friend of yours, Sarah Cox, told us there was a really low number of women in the army, and you've reflected on that to an extent, and that might still be the case. What do you think the British Army can do to show our female cadets that their diverse careers are for them too?
I think, again, the success breeds the success. One thing's important with that. I think that we need to make sure that we don't. I have, in my time at the academy, I've seen a couple of young ladies who wanted it for the wrong reasons. They wanted it to be the first. They wanted it to be sensational. They wanted to be on the posters. They wanted to be on the telly, on the news. And that's the wrong reason to do it, because that fades quickly, and then you're in command, you're in charge, you're in a position that you might not have thought you were going to be in. So we need to select the right people, the right young ladies to represent the rest of the young ladies in the society fairly. If we don't do that, then it could have an adverse effect. And I think the Army's clicked onto that, and they're pushing the young ladies that are getting backed, are making sure that they are the right ones, so they can breed that, they can be that shining example, that exemplar to all the other young ladies. So I think we need to be careful and make sure that we get the right people into the right places, and then maximise that. You know what I mean? Advertise it and get them doing things like this, talking to forums, get them out doing wee bits of recruiting and helping, and showing people what can be achieved.
Yep, absolutely. So this is an interesting one. I was reading it and I wasn't quite sure what they were coming at, but I suppose it's like, so it's from Cadet Burnett, who's had, is there a specific unit or job, I presume within the Army, whose job is to weed out corruption, a bit like a kind of internal affairs for the Army?
I mean, you could actually say that there's nothing specific. There are. I will go and do audits of battalions. So somebody external, usually the brigade commander, will send people like me to go into his units and do a climate assessment. That's exactly what it's called. Do a climate assessment and see. And I would go in and I will get all the young private soldiers together and have a chat with them informally. And then I would do the same with the couples mess, sergeant's mess. And then I would do a report, and then I would get back. That would go back to the commanding officer and back to the brigade commander. And if there is any issues, and they can call other people in from they can call anybody in. They can go, somebody from a different country, from down south, from wherever, so there's no conflict of interest. So that does happen quite a lot, to make sure, because the brigade commanders particularly are quite sensitive to make sure that their units are running well. And good battalions, the commanding officer and the regimental sergeant major will do that probably at least every 6 months. They'll do that. They'll do a round robin of other companies, and they'll go in. I used to do it as a company sergeant major. I would sit with all my jocks, no NCOs in the room, and I'd say, right, it's not a shimp session. You need to give them a right and left of arc, but an open forum where they can speak freely, constructively, and intelligently, and a lot of stuff comes out. So it does happen. If it becomes more serious, then more senior people come and do it. If there is a problem, then more senior people come and do it.
Okay, yeah. My dad always talks about, my dad was a career soldier, 23 years in the Army, just after the war. And he always talks about the commanding officer would come in at the cookhouse every once or twice a year, whatever, and say, is there any complaints? And he said the last thing he said was yes, because you never wanted to upset the chef. But there you go.
Yeah.
It's a good one. I think you're going to like this one. I think we've all agreed that grades are really important in school, and everybody should try very hard and work very hard. But it's not, it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work out for you. And there's plenty of examples of that being not the end of the world. On that basis, do you think it would be better to have one selection process where individuals' aptitudes for either private soldier or officer route is assessed?
I think that I would like to think that already happens, because back in the day, you used to get what was called the BARD test, and the BARD test was like basically an intelligence test, and it told you where your aptitudes lie. I don't know what the algorithms are for it, but and then anybody over a certain, you get a score, and anybody over a certain score would go to different cap badges, and then they could even look at going to, in fact, no, they don't, because it was just the different cap badges, and then it was up to the cap badges once again if they identified somebody that was of the quality to be a young officer, then they would push them forward from there, and they would then become something that was called an ex-ranker. So yeah, I think that's an interesting one. I think that is something that I've never heard that before. That could be interesting.
Yeah.
I might actually talk to Sarah Cox about that.
Yeah, well, actually, that's what the civil service does. But I'll maybe talk to you offline about that. Just my experience of it. I failed the civil service exam, but don't tell anybody, all right? Okay, so there's a couple of next ones are kind of similar, and we've got loads to get through here, Mr. McFadden. So yeah, loads to get through.
You're all right.
Okay, so there's a couple of these ones are the same, and it's a bit like this whole, and I suspect I know what you're going to say here. Any regrets? Anything you'd go back and do differently?
No, I wouldn't do anything differently with regards to the way that I've done things in the Army. and the jobs that I've done. Has there been low points? Yes. There's always low points. I've got them. I mean, I was thinking about the low points. There isn't too many of them, if I'm honest, but the low points are really low. The low points that I've had again goes back to Herrick when I was platoon commander, and halfway through the tour, I got a platoon commander in young second lieutenant, finished Sandhurst, went to PCD and came straight out, and I got a brand new straight out the factory. But that's the way it needed to be. And at that point, the fighting season started in Afghan, and that's when my guys, we were in. There was 3 companies for the battalion. Went A company, B company, and Delta company. B company went into the middle of last year, and they were put there. We done well on the pre-deployment training, so that was like the second punchiest role. The first punchiest role was going down south to the Fish Hook, and that gets given to the SAS company commander, who came back for Hereford and took over. So Dan Mackay, he was the guy who came back to Hereford, and then he went down there because they thought that was going to be punchy. Little did they know that the centre of Afghan was going to kick off. That was when Nadir Ali kicked off, and I went in there with we ended up, there was a full battle group. There was a division in there. There was 2 or 3 battle groups in Nadir Ali at the latter part of Herrick. But I was the first platoon in there, and I went in with 14 guys and girls, and that was a very, very interesting time. Very interesting time. A lot of my guys get shot. One of my guys, no, in Nadir Ali actually, one of my guys, the lowest point was one called Jimmy Johnson. He died. He got blew up there. Thankfully, it was kind of an instantaneous thing. But that was a dark time for my platoon. That was one of them ones where everybody was devastated, and nobody wanted, because we were going into scraps and we were going to contacts every single day, every time we were out, we were going to fight. And the guys didn't want to know me. Jimmy was a recce soldier like me. He was a sniper. He was a soldier. And when he got killed, it kind of shocked, it kind of devastated the platoon. And I knew as a commander, the thing I need to do is get them motivated to get them back out on the ground quickly. Because the more you labour on these things, the longer you leave it, the harder it's going to be to get back in the ground and get back into the job. But that was a difficult time. Probably the hardest thing I had to do when I got the call was go and tell the rest of the platoon that Jimmy hadn't made that. It's still quite raw. It was only a few months ago. The other month, 2 months ago in June 28th, there was his anniversary. So that was a low point. Could I have changed that? No, we couldn't have changed that. It's the way it is. That's life. Bad things happen, unfortunately, but it's how you deal with it. That's the mark of the woman. How you deal with it.
Yeah.
Do you destroy you inside, or do you grow from it? It took a while to get the platoon back in spirits. But yeah, that was a sad time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. Somebody's really going on detail tonight. What's the ring you're wearing on your left ring finger, if you don't mind saying?
It's a combination. It's 2 rings. It's my wedding ring, and it's my grandfather's Masonic ring. I'm a Freemason myself. This is my grandfather's chair. That's my grandfather's pad. It's his medal for when he was president of his bowling club. He's no longer with us. He died in 2017, and he was my best friend in the world. I'm a member of the Lodge St John number 175, and that was my mother lodge. And I go back there whenever I can. But that's what I wear. That's my grandfather's ring that never kind of leaves my hand.
Fantastic. When you say there's another one from one of our cadets from Lark Hall. When you say the army helps and mould you, if you can't do something, do they help you through?
Yes. And
it's not a big deal as long as you show you're trying?
Absolutely. Because everybody learns at different rates, at different speeds, and they learn in different ways. Some people like to read, some people like to watch. Some people like to get hands-on straight away. There's all different ways, and again, it's going back to that intelligent way of training and teaching, and understanding that everybody isn't going to get it straight away. And I think we are pretty good at selecting the people. We don't always get it right. There are assholes everywhere, including the army, plenty of them. But I think we generally get it quite right with who we get. Go down to ITC Cartrick, go to Sandhurst, go wherever, and in the battalions, because when you get through, to move up the ranks, you need to do the relevant courses, and it's all teaching courses. I mean, I've got I don't know what they are called nowadays, but when I done my colour sergeant stuff at Sandhurst, it was petals and kettles. It's basic teaching qualifications where civvy teachers will come in and teach you how to do things, and professors will come in and teach you how to do things. So, I mean, when you go on courses these days, there's psychologists on all these courses who come in and teach you about the way that the brain works. So when people aren't doing things quite right, a lot of time attached, especially the youngsters, prefrontal cortex of the brain, the bit here, isn't fully developed till mid-20s, and that's the bit of the brain that controls. If you do something, the second and third order effects, if I do this, and this will happen, that's not developed in a young person's brain. Hence the reason why prisons are full of youngsters. So that's just an example of the detail that they get into with teaching and educating people. So as long as people are trying, given that 100%, and you're showing, even if it's a marginal gain, even if it's a small bit of progress, it's progress. And then we keep building in that confidence. That's the key bit. As soon as you start to chastise people and bring them down, that's when things start to go really wrong.
Yeah. Okay, and moving on. So here's a question from one of our cadets. She's waiting on her intake date for Sandhurst, hopefully in January. How intense is the initial first few weeks of training?
Yeah, so the first 5 weeks is the indoctrination phase, if you want to call it. That's getting people into the way of being a soldier. So that's when you're basically locked in camp, you're gated, and you go in and you are. This is all college. This was my college. This is what I supervised. The first week 25 is quite a cheeky experience. There is a lot of work to do, and there's not much sleep, but it's there for a reason. Everything that you do, even when I was a colour sergeant, I had my cadets come up to me and say, "Colour sergeant, why are we doing this? I don't understand the reason." And then the colour sergeants and the staff sergeants will take the time and explain it why, because we're trying to readjust the brain to get into line with the army routine, the way that the army thinks and does things. Because we all need to, we're never always going to think as one, but there needs to be an element of that. Regardless of cap badge or code, there needs to be like that general baseline for everybody. So that's what it does. It's not breaking people down. It's just getting them used to the way that we do things. Some people will describe it as breaking an individual down to nothing and building them back up. I don't like to think that we break anybody down. I like to think that we educate them on how to do things in the army. But it's a culture shock for a lot of people, a massive culture shock, because we've got a lot of, and when the young lady gets there and she sees some of the people, because there'll be very rich cadets there, there'll be royalty there, there'll be all sorts in there. Daddy's the king of whatever country, and they're all mixed in there with their green boiler suit on, the same as everybody else. And you get people who have never done anything in their life. They've never polished their own shoes, they've never ironed their own kit, they've never done their own dobie, they've never cleaned their own room. And then, some of them have got the misapprehension that they're going to get treated differently. It doesn't happen. They all get exactly the same treatment. It doesn't matter if you're the crown prince of whatever country, or you're the wee scumbag to Greenock, you're getting treated exactly the same. And for some of the more affluent cadets, it's a bit of a culture shock.
I can imagine. Cadet Burnett, I'll come back to you on that one. It's a good question, but I think I'll come back to you separately on that one. Here's one. One of our instructors, Second Lieutenant Kirkwood, he's saying that in the Lovat Arms in Clydebank, I'm sure has a family room. Jimmy's on the wall, as is a friend of his, Craig O'Donnell. So if you're ever in that area, you should. I was there when Craig died as well. When ODE was killed. I was in Afghan. I was 2006. ODE, as he was affectionately known within the company, was a diamond of a boy, an absolute He was a bit of a Dale boy actually. Jimmy was a quiet boy, very very capable soldier. ODE was a lad's lad, good soldier, and he was that was another big loss to the battalion. Yeah. Okay, can I just quickly check with one of the other instructors? Have we got a lesson on at 8 o'clock? I believe yes, we do. Sorry. So
I've already pre-warned them that we could be running late, so you can take a few more questions. So
okay,
it's fine if we run over a bit.
Fantastic. Yeah, so there's a couple other ones that were submitted actually in advance, so I didn't think I would get the chance to ask this, but Edinburgh Castle, are there parts of the castle that the public don't get to see, that only if you're in your type of position you get to see, and are there any interesting parts that we don't get to see?
There is David's Tower. So David's Tower is no longer there. That David's Tower was built by, I believe, Robert Bruce's grandson, and it was taken down. Edinburgh Castle is the most sieged castle on earth, bar none. It is, if you look at the history, the Garrison Commander, come on Google, is a bit of a historian. He's a massive historian, actually. And if you ever want to hear about the castle and you're like doctorate level depth, then he's your man. But the David's Tower, you can get into small parts of David's Tower, but there is old rooms and fireplaces and dungeons down there that you can go and see. There's the old entrances where Mary Queen of Scots came in. You can see all that. Well, you can't see actually because it's limited access. It's quite dangerous and treacherous to get down to. So David's Tower, that's one of the ones where the public can see a very, very limited area of it. But I mean, if you know the right people, you can get down.
Mm-hmm. Good. Another one from Cadet McLeod. What would be your advice to any cadets who would like to get promoted? That's a good question.
The 3 bits of advice that I've already given you: 100% in everything that you do, doing the right thing when you think nobody's watching, because somebody's always watching. Don't be that DS watcher who springs into life when the instructor rocks up in the room or a member of staff walks into the room. Do the right thing when you think nobody's watching. So that's 100% everything that you do. Humility and manners, and go your way to help other people. If you're looking for promotion, then that would suggest to me that you're pretty good at what you do. Make sure you're educating and helping those who are a wee bit that need the help, need the guidance, and spread that wealth. That will show your maturity. It will show you the longevity that you have got, what it takes to go forward and educate, teach, guide. So that's what I would say. So 100% of what you do: humility, manners, and bringing other people on.
Great stuff. Well, that was absolutely amazing. I mean, we said when we were when Mr. McFadden and I were chatting before we started, I assured them that the hour would go very quickly, and I'm not quite sure if you believe me or not, but I think now you'll think that the hour has gone exceptionally quickly.
It has. It went very quickly. I was expecting more of the worry stuff to come out. I was expecting questions.
Well, maybe there'll be a time for that. Maybe if we talk nicely to you, we can maybe ask you back, and we can get a little bit more of an insight into some of your operational experiences, because I know that everybody finds that not from a kind of vicarious interest perspective, but I think from an interest in terms of leadership under extreme and how people behave under extreme conditions. It's a great thing to understand.
Yes, no, I mean, if you want to talk about that kind of stuff, then I'm more than happy to come back and talk about it. No, as I say, with my recce stuff and COP, no, I mean, I've done 2 different tours of COP. COP was close observation platoon. That's the brigade commander's platoon on ops, and that's when you cut about in your wee 4-man teams. In Northern Ireland, I've done COP for 3 years. I was a plainclothes soldier working with the SAS, the DET at the time, which is now SRR, and MI5 and other people. So I was a plainclothes soldier in Northern Ireland for 3 years, cutting about watching people doing naughty things. And keeping an eye on them. And I'd done COP as well in Bosnia, which was fantastic. That was flying about in helicopters with 4-man teams into the mountains. Get in and we were looking for pifwicks. That is persons invented for war crimes. You know, during the Serbian War, we were putting OPs in, watching people who were hiding in the mountains, and then because at that point the SF footprint in that area was reduced, so they actually trained us to go in and do some of the stuff that they would normally do. And then the Op Eric stuff, particularly Op Eric 8, a lot of interesting punchy battles, a lot of close shaves with vehicle-borne IEDs trying to kill us and do different bits and pieces where they came a wee bit full. Some of them actually, it sounds quite sadistic, but a couple of them are quite amusing.
Well, so no, I think if you'd be willing to come back, I think we would be extremely interested to hear more about that. But we can chat about that offline. So thank you so much. I know, as I say, you're an extremely busy man, and I know that lockdown has hardly made you miss a beat, really, in terms of your work. You've been flat out right the way through that. So I know that giving up some time when you should be putting your feet up and watching the football is it's pretty it's a big sacrifice. So thank you so much for that.
No, very welcome, and I'm more than happy to come back and talk. I'm more than happy when the camps come up and running to come in person and teach and shoot. really slow there, and chat with the guys and girls, because this is the next generation, and they need to know if they want a career in the army, they need to know what it is, and it's up to people like me and you to be telling them how things go. So I'm more than happy, and it's always good to go out and, I've done stuff in annual camps when I was younger, and it's always a great laugh to come and teach, and the cadets love it, and especially when we're doing the more punchy stuff, the more sexy stuff, when we're doing the battle drills, and that's a great laugh.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'll definitely hold you that. But as I say, we can chat offline about that. As I say, I'll contact you, Mr. McFadden, following on for the next couple of days here. I've got a wee gift for you, which I think you're probably use for cleaning your bike. Actually, it's a T-shirt. So it's a Scots Guards T-shirt. So you probably not really want to wear it, but I'll send it anyway.
Yeah, I'm not bitter about regiments. I'm not thinking of statement that I couldn't do that next job, but I'm not bitter about regiments because I've not got much time for people to slate other regiment, because no one regiment can survive without the other.
Exactly.
We're all one big happy family.
Excellent.
Maybe not all the time, but we get that.
Okay, so no, I'll be in contact to arrange that, and contact as well, because I think I would like to think this is the beginning of a relationship with the battalion, and that is really important to us, to have people like yourself supporting what we do. Now we've got a number of people on the line. Now I know our commandant is actually on, but he's actually on another meeting. So I'm going to ask our deputy commandant, Lieutenant Colonel Coulter, just to say a wee thanks, if you can, sir, on behalf of the battalion.
No problem, Kenny. Thanks very much. Mr. McFadden, thanks very much. That was a great talk. And I did meet you at our last annual camp where you did do the judging. And obviously, you gave us a tour of Sandhurst when we brought the senior cadets. Some very interesting facts there. It's good to hear you're a lad from Greenock who's done so well. Obviously, we're in the middle of Glasgow, which has got quite a few areas like Greenock, which probably aren't affluent. But it's great to see how you just said, if you can put your mind to it, determination, you can get there. So it's for the cadets that's online, just take note of what the RSM says, and one day you can be that person in charge of Edinburgh Castle. I don't think you'd have thought that when you were at school at 15 years of age, when you were hanging about the park with your pals.
No,
so,
I thought I was on the road to jail.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And as Mr. Bog says, they're not far from us. Once we do come out of lockdown and start training some weekend at our training centre, Cambuslang Detman, you're more than welcome. And it would be great to catch up with you again. But from everybody in the battalion, thank you so much for giving up your time.
Yeah, you're very welcome, sir. Anytime. Please take me up on the offer. I would love to come and see you and help and chat to cadets and help with teaching and guiding, whatever I can do.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Well, listen, so thanks so much, Mr. McFadden. An absolutely brilliant session, incredibly interesting. Some real gems in there, which, is incredibly pertinent to a career in the military, but span any career. It's about being that person that does have, all those qualities that are necessary to get on in life and to be a good person. It's absolutely gem. Sorry, that was my phone going off. I do apologise. So, brilliant stuff, and I think that we've all gained a huge amount, and actually just touched the tip of an iceberg in terms of where we could go with this. So, as I say, I'll be in touch, and we can chat more about that. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much indeed for everybody who has joined us this evening. That was a great turnout tonight. One of the biggest turnouts tonight. So you had probably one of the biggest audiences. I won't say if it's bigger audience than RSM Kirkwoods, because I know you just go straight on the phone and say you attracted more people.
I'm going to say that.
I'd expect nothing less. Absolutely. But yeah, brilliant stuff. We'll be in touch. Everybody, we're back on next Thursday, so make sure that you're here again. Remember, stick to the rules. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but we all need to stick to the rules to make sure we get to that light sooner rather than later. I'm sure most of you are back at school, so work hard And hopefully sooner rather than later, I'll see you one-to-one as opposed to through a computer screen. So, good night, everybody. Take care, and we'll catch up very soon. Thanks again, Mr. McFadden.
Yeah, right, so thank you.
Another good one, Pat.